Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for yet another match preview live here on my channel. But again, of course, not sat here by myself, but joined by two absolute legends of the game. First of all, my partner in crime, as he calls me. So I'm just going to return the favor in Carefree Lewis G. Bro, how you doing?
I'm good. Slightly getting more gassed up for this game, but I'm not getting too gassed because I can smell the 0-0 coming. But yeah, let's go into this.
Exactly. And for the first time on my channel today, Mr. Monster CFC. Bro, how you doing?
Hey, man, big ups to you lot. Obviously, love what both of you do for Blues Fans TV and everything. It's lovely to be on your channel for the first time, man. Really appreciate you inviting me on, and big ups to everyone in the chat. Smash the like button. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly what he said. And of course, check both of these guys out. Their links are in the first line of the description. Just click the @ of their names. Check out both of them. And, both of them deserve more subscribers, really. And if you don't know Monster especially, honestly, check him out. Deserves more likes, subscribers, all of that. So definitely do that. And you've got a first donation of the day already. Mr. Wayne Modes.
Big up
yourself.
Big
up yourself. And like he said, help me reach 10,000 subscribers. So smash the subscription button down below. We're slowly but surely getting there. So if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe, smash that like button. And we have another little hint here as well. As you can see, actually you can't see it here, that little badge you can see next to the name, that means good old Melinda is a member of my channel, which is a fairly new thing since the last time around. So there's a join button underneath, the video where you can join and become a member. Certain perks that you get from that. Of course, not forcing anybody to do this, but if you fancy it and if you want to support the channel, you are very welcome to do that. With that, also gives you like the possibility to jump on streams, and I don't have to make really unfair decisions, and here someone, coming on, and then I'd have to leave someone else out. It's tough, so I decided to do it that way. Of course, like I said, you don't have to. But enough about all of this. A bit of admin stuff has to be done at the beginning. But let's talk Tottenham Spurs against Chelsea. It's a big game. It's Thomas Tuchel's first real big test in charge of Chelsea Football Club. Of course, the games against Wolves and Burnley weren't easy. But realistically, if we want to have anything to do with the top four come the end of the season, we need to start picking up points in these games. Not like it was against Man City, not like it was against Arsenal. We need to pick up points. And that's where it comes in tomorrow. Our greatest ever manager in Jose Mourinho, and now in charge of our greatest rival in Tottenham Hotspur, with our new, hopefully, incredibly successful manager, Thomas Tuchel. And there's going to be a lot of things that need to be discussed in terms of formations. Does he go 3 at the back again? Who plays at left back / left wing back? Chilwell, Marcos Alonso. Maybe even a dodgy shout for Emerson. Doubt that one. Who starts up front? Who the hell knows? Of course, a couple of injuries that Thomas Tuchel has revealed in the press conference. And I guess we'll start it off right there and then. And because he's new in the channel, I will go with Monster first. Before we go into any details, why don't you just give me like a little small summary of what you're expecting ahead of tomorrow's game and what you may be worried about?
I know Tottenham they're gonna set up similar to Burnley and Wolves. Gonna be low blocks, probably two or three buses parked in. Might throw in a train with a little private jet in there. It's gonna be a tough game. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got better quality defenders. Expect them to sit back. The one worry we will have is obviously Heung-min Son. We need to know how to contain him. They will give up the ball to us, but they're going to be inviting us on and expecting to pick out a moment to try to catch us on the counter attack. So I expect us to have more of the ball. Do you know what? The fact that they don't have Kane, who is like almost like 70-60% of what they do, makes me not necessarily as worried of them as I would normally be. So for some reason, I expect us to beat them. Do you know what I mean? I actually expect us to beat them. It could be a draw, because that's probably what they're going to be looking for, a draw. So we'll see what happens then, innit? But I kind of expect a Chelsea win.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as yourself there, because they are missing Kane. We spoke to Ben from We Are Tottenham Fan TV earlier, and he was like, more than any other season before, is Kane incredibly instrumental to what they do as a team. And now that he is out injured, as much as they still have Heung-min Son, and in the past, they somewhat surprisingly sometimes found ways to get around that, if you will. It seems like it's more of an issue for them now. And by the way, Strip Bear, I told you this before, get in touch with me, because I tried to make you a mod on air, but I couldn't find your channel. When you type make someone a mod, you need to either have their URL or find their channel. And I, for the life of me, couldn't. So get in touch with me, send me your YouTube URL, and then I can make you a mod, unless I can actually do it here. Let me actually try that. But regardless, Lewis, why don't you share your like rough thoughts ahead of the game?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, it's a big test for us. And same way, we also need to get over this issue that we have of beating the teams above us, because the longer that it keeps going, the more it's going to hang over our heads, and that's going to become a bigger confidence issue that the players are going to have to deal with. So obviously we're going to go in there, and I want to see us win, but we're facing the same sort of team that we faced the last two times, which leaves me optimistic, but it is just Jose, and you know what Jose's like against the top six teams. He's notoriously hard to break down, and I think the thing for us is that we need to be clinical in this game. If we're not clinical, then we're really just going to suffer the same problems we suffered all season. And I'm optimistic that we can go there and get a result, but same way, I do just look at this game and I think this game just screams Jose 0-0 all over it, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought. It really does do that, and like Monster said, it just does feel like that's what he's going to do. He's just going to sit back, either get that draw, and he will say, "Oh, we have injuries, we have Kane out, so a draw against Chelsea will be a good result," and he'll hope to nick a 1-0. That's 100% what he will do. So I guess if you think about it that way, at least Tuchel already has experience, as in what he's coming up against. And also, these people in the chat that are just spamming, I don't know what you're doing. This will not go well for you, I'm telling you. So just stop it. It's pointless. But yeah, here we are. And of course, I think the first thing we should probably discuss before we discuss any sort of specific formations, shall we say. Well, I guess before that, let's mention that Thomas Tuchel revealed in his press conference that both Zouma and Havertz picked up small niggles in training today and are now doubtful for tomorrow's game. Whether they will make the squad or not, at this point, I don't expect either of them to start. Maybe one of them will make the bench. Realistically, Zouma probably wouldn't have started anyway. But as for Havertz, let's see. At this point, I now doubt he starts, but maybe he'll make the bench. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the biggest question is, what formation do we go with? Of course, Tottenham kind of switch between the three at the back and a 4-2-3-1, depending on the game. And of course, Thomas Tuchel in the last two games has done that against two different formations as well. He did it against the Wolves back five, and he also did it against the Burnley back four. So it seems like for Tuchel, it's not necessarily let's just copy their opponent's formation. It's just what he thinks suited us best in these two games. And he made a very interesting statement, I think just pre-game before the Burnley game, saying they only decided to go three at the back the day before the Burnley game. So it's not like this was 100% set in his mind. Hence why I don't think it's 100%, guaranteed for this game tomorrow either. But personally, I do think he will go three at the back. What do you guys think? How about Lewis? You go first.
Yeah, I think he'll go three at the back only because we all think we're going into this game, we're facing a team that's facing the exact same tactics. So I feel like we're going to play similar tactics to the last two games. And if anything, they might have been leading up to a game like this, just building up the team's confidence in that formation. So it would make sense to stick with three at the back. Just the question is, what system do you play up front and as well as the midfield? That's where the real question marks are. But I think we're definitely going to see three at the back.
Yeah, I probably think so as well. Monster, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think Lewis is correct. It's probably gonna be the same as the last game. I think what you might see though is you might see Giroud instead of Tammy Abraham. And that might be what you see.
What I will, what we'll get to as well is obviously we saw a different formation in the second half against Burnley than we did in the first half against Burnley when we switched from a 3-4-2-1 to a 3-4-1-2 with Mason Mount as a 10 behind kind of a two false strikers almost in Werner and Pulisic, which was interesting as well. So the question, I guess, will be, will he do that again, or will he go with a kind of a 3 of 2 kind of wingers, if you call Werner a winger in that system, and one out-and-out striker? That will be interesting to me. But yeah, I do think it will be a back three. Let's just go through the team quickly. I'm pretty sure, we all agree that Edouard Mendy will, of course, be in goal. The back three, especially now that Zouma isn't fit, probably will stay the same. I mean, I would be surprised if Reece James comes into the side as a right centre back for this game. I can't see it. Can either of you?
I'd like to see it, but same way Azpilicueta has been performing in that position the last two games, so it doesn't make sense to take him out, especially as captain. So we're probably going to see Azpilicueta play in that position anyway, and that's not a bad thing. Like, he's had 2 brilliant games in that position, and having Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi on the right-hand side just stops him having to go forward instead for us, which protects him in the transition, because that's where he usually suffers. So, yeah, I'm happy to see him at right centre-back. That's where we've seen the best of him.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
Lewis
Go on.
Lewis is correct. Well, we are probably going to see Aspi there because Aspi kind of it suits him more, and he's more used to playing that position. We're not used to. I don't think I've seen Reece James play that position at all.
Yeah.
And also, it's a thing where it's been working for the past 2 games. So I doubt Tuchel will change that all of a sudden. Do you get what I mean? So it's more of a, if it's not broken, don't fix it situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I think the back three, and obviously Tuchel explained it, especially after the Wolves game, why he decided to do this. Well, first of all, it was their two fast forwards. I guess, it will depend somewhat how Spurs will line up, but, Son will probably be the striker. Maybe it's Vinicius, we'll see. But it's probably Son who then obviously drifts wide. And then if you have a centre-back too, he drags one of the centre-backs out, that opens some space. So you're actually probably in a good spot if you, put a three up against Spurs, kind of regardless of which formation they actually go with. And like I said, it just makes sense. And he explained in a way, we have the three behind that offers a bit of protection. We have the double six in front of them, whoever that may be. We'll get to that next. And then kind of the other players can just do whatever they want. Realistically, in possession, our formation is kind of a 3-2-5. That's kind of, you can call it a 3-2-4-1 if you want, but realistically, it's just a 3-2-5. Sometimes even a 2-3-5 because Aspie has pushed up the pitch, into that midfield position a few times. And even bloody the opposition's box when he scored the goal. So, certainly very attacking. Not exactly like a Antonio Conte 3-4-3. It is very different. Showing people that didn't necessarily see this. Not every 3-4-3 necessarily needs to be defensive, especially when Callum Hudson-Odoi is officially your right wing back. But that is a whole different story, shall we say? That is a whole different story. And I guess with that, why don't we get to talking about the double pivot? Because of course, N'Golo Kante was out injured for the Wolves game, came back into training ahead of the Burnley game, but was only on the bench and remained an unused sub. While Kovacic and Jorginho both played a really good game, in their positions, and both had absolute masterclasses if you think about it. Both had more, higher percentage progressive passes than they did in, I think, any game this season. And were defensively solid, were good on the counter press. So you couldn't possibly have asked for any more from both of these guys, really, other than maybe one or two better final passes from especially Kovacic, who, of course, pushed closer to in and around the box. And that's where the question comes up. Does Kante even start? And this isn't, let's for a second forget what we think Tuchel will do. Let me just get your opinions first, and then we'll, get to whether we think Tuchel will actually agree with us or not. Monster, why don't you go first?
For Kante to start this game, no. Only because he's just coming back from some sort of an injury. It's a thing where you don't need to rush him in straight away. And also, when a player is coming back from injury, I'm not sure Spurs is necessarily the right team to bring them in against, because you know how Spurs play, innit? So I would more be thinking of, all right, let's get Kante in the next game against, I think it's Sheffield United that we're playing next. That's when I would bring Kante in. I would stay with what I would do is stay with Jorginho and Kovacic. And if we have to shore things up at the back later on in the game, then I will bring Kante on. Otherwise, for now, I'll keep him at the starting lineup and just pretty much keep everything the way it has been.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree because it's a case of it worked so well the last two games, like you touched on already. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, if we are in a lucky position where we can leave him out to make sure he comes back fully fit and fully fresh, maybe use that, play him against Barnsley for the first game. Maybe if obviously the other guys are fit to play again against Sheffield United, on Sunday. If that's possible, okay, maybe he'll have to come in against Sheffield just to rotate a few legs. Could also consider Billy Gilmore, of course, against Sheffield United. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but at the same time, it also does feel a little bit crazy because, Spurs do bring a little bit more. And while they will sit back as well, they are more, and they're just a better football team. They just have better players. So when they do try to hit on the break, they will be better than both Wolves and Burnley were, because teams can sit deep. But if they're better on the counter-attack, best example is Manchester United. They 9 times out of 10 sit deep against us, but they just annihilate us on the break every single time.
Yeah. I mean, what you do have to consider is Kante match fit, match sharp. Do you know what I mean? There's one thing being fit, but then there's another thing being match fit or match sharp. Is he up to speed? Considering he hasn't played for a few weeks now, innit? So that's why I said, is it wise necessarily bringing him in? Why not get him minutes against Sheffield United, where it's not too tough as an opponent? Even if you've got to bring him on off the second half against Tottenham, once we've hopefully done something, then bring him on to get some minutes to get his legs functioning and running, and then bring him in against Sheffield United. I'm just not sure starting him against Tottenham is necessarily the best move, considering he hasn't played for so long.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, the whole match fitness, he hasn't been. How long has he been out for? 2 weeks? Where was the last game he played? Fulham? Before Fulham? Did he? He didn't play Leicester, did he?
He didn't play Leicester. He didn't play the Fulham game.
So was City's last game?
Out for quite a while.
Yeah, City was his last game, I think.
Yeah,
he didn't play
a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't play the third round game, the cup.
Yeah, game. I remember now because Frank before the Morecambe game said, he picked up a small injury, but he's suspended against Fulham anyway and should be back after that, and then wasn't. Yeah, I do remember. So he has been out for a little while, but it's not like months, so the sharpness shouldn't be that far gone, considering he's been back in training for over a week now, because obviously he came back into training for Burnley, which is, and I will say that, of course, we didn't get the 2-0 early enough. Maybe he would have done otherwise. It would have been good to give him like 10-15 against Burnley just to get a bit of sharpness in there already. But Lewis, what do you think? Stick with Jorginho and Kovacic or bring Kante in?
I would have liked to, but Monster makes a good case that it might be too early to, so I'd understand if we didn't. I would like to because I think regardless, we might get bullied in the midfield physically, and that's just something we're going to have to try and cope with in the game. And N'Golo Kante might give us a bit more aggression, but I feel like we'll still be lacking that strength in order to actually be able to match up to them in that sort of regard. So you have to try and take the game to them in a different way than that. So, yeah, I could go with Jorginho and Kovacic. It's worked the last 2 games as well. I see no reason to change it, especially with N'Golo Kante. We can bring him on in the last 10-15 minutes if the game's in that sort of situation for it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would pick those 2 as well. But I actually think Tuchel will pick him. Of course, we're not there in training. So if Tuchel sees him train and sees, and in his opinion, he is match fit, he is sharp enough, obviously we don't have that opportunity to judge that. Tuchel does.
He really started. That was one of the first things he was speaking about in his press conference, that he really wanted to play with N'Golo Kante. So I could see the will to actually want to play him in this game, but also we could afford to just rest him. Like, the fixture list is going to be a mess for the next month or so minimum, so it wouldn't make any sense to rush him now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Coming to the left wing-back spot, of course, presumably we will go for that 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, 3-4-1-2. The left wing-back spot is an interesting one because for me, there's 2 kind of ways to look at it. Spurs are better on the attack. That means that supports the case for starting Ben Chilwell, who, at least in my opinion, is significantly better than Marcos Alonso on the defensive side of the game. But also in the kind of the case that supports Marcos Alonso starting again. Sorry about the ambulance driving past, guys.
I swear down this every time.
Honestly, like I can see the hospital from like my window, so like it's just there.
Yeah, don't worry. I've got a hospital, a fire station, and a police station right next to my yard. I feel the pain.
Exactly. But the fact that, of course, what we touched on already, that we do expect Spurs to sit back similarly to how Burnley and Wolves did, that supports the case for Marcos Alonso, because we do know that he is a goal threat. Whether it's from set pieces, taking a free kick with his left foot. He's done that before against Tottenham, but also just from whether it's from open play, those crosses to the far post, whether it's shot from distance, or whether it's just, being a tall guy, getting his head on a normal corner or a normal free kick. So I wonder where you guys sit on that. Of course, most of you guys watching at least will know mine and Lewis's stance on the whole situation. Personally, I don't actually know Monster's stance on it, on the whole Alonso versus Chilwell situation. So why don't you give me your thoughts on that, mate?
Well, first of all, there's been a lot of people just slating him and things like that, and I'm just like, bruv, right now, none of our players need this. What we need is to get behind our players and just back the players, because we need the W's, we need the wins. So whenever I see people just slating him and going at him and saying he's not worthy to play for Chelsea, to represent the badge and blah, blah, it's just like, bro, whether you like it or not, he's representing Chelsea. He's wearing that badge that you say he's not worthy of wearing. He's going to do it regardless. There's nothing you can do about it anyway. That's that on that. If we are playing a back 3 system, Alonso has to play over Ben Chilwell. He has to. He's better in that position than Ben Chilwell is. And even if you look at Ben Chilwell in the last game, I don't know if he didn't look match fit. I don't know if it was just that he wasn't bothered, but he was really stinking up the joint and ruining the game for us against Burnley. Do you know what I mean? He was absolutely ruining it.
Wolves, you mean?
Huh?
Wolves, you mean?
Against Wolves, yeah. He was ruining that game. There was so many misplaced passes, so many misplaced touches. While everyone was getting fast one-touch football in. Every time it got to Chilwell, it was just either he touched it too hard, or it just the ball just went past him. His shooting boots weren't on. We all know Alonso's a better finisher than he is. That's just Alonso's a great finisher. And Ben Chilwell, like I said, he just didn't look bothered. I don't know what it is with him. So if we are going to play this back three system, it's either got to be Alonso, or if it's not Alonso, it has to be Emerson. I wouldn't put Chilwell in the back three. I just don't think he works there. It's not his fault. It just doesn't suit him, innit? So, but if we are going to go with a back four, which we're probably not, then I will go with Chilwell. Otherwise, there's a back three, stick to Alonso.
It's an interesting one because I did, jump to the defense of Chilwell a little bit after the Wolves game because I didn't see that he was like that bad. I wasn't running around saying that he was great or whatever. Clearly he wasn't, right? But I didn't think it was that awful. Of course, he should have done better with the finish. But you could say that for every forward for the last 2 months that we had on the pitch. So we can't exactly drop everyone just because they can't finish, especially when you're left wing back. That is really your main job. I know it's Alonso's main strength, but it's still not your main job. Of course, his crossing wasn't quite there. But I don't see that Emerson or Alonso have better crossing ever than Ben Chilwell does either. So I don't really see that positive. And I just see whenever we're in possession, you could make the case that Emerson is actually better at it. But Alonso slows it down equally as much as Chilwell does on a bad day. And that's Alonso on his best day. Even we had a good counter-attacking moment against Burnley. And, we somehow defended our way out of it. The only kind of good crossing chance that Burnley had. Thiago Silva with the block. Aspie wins the header. Mount somehow plays it into Kovacic, who starts the counter-attack, plays it to Alonso, and he slows it down so much by the time we got anywhere near their box, they had eight men behind the ball again. And that's where Alonso really frustrates me. It's all well and good that he scored an absolute screamer, and it was a brilliant goal. And, he did good. He did really good there. But those are the things that frustrate me so much, and I think Chilwell does a lot better in those positions. And to some other bit of defense to Ben Chilwell, as far as I'm aware, Leicester barely ever played a three at the back. So that was one of Ben Chilwell's first ever games at left wing back. So I do agree maybe for tomorrow it's not the best shout to throw him in there, but I don't think you can say right now that Alonso is full stop a better left wing back than Ben Chilwell when Marcos Alonso has played in that position like 50, 60 times and Ben Chilwell has played there probably less than a handful. So that is a very skewed comparison in my opinion. But I do agree that probably Alonso is better suited for the game tomorrow just because we will have to break them down. And any additional goal threat is an advantage in that situation. And I know you don't like him, Lewis, you don't rate him, but do you agree with that? Or would you go for Julie?
No, I understand Marcos Alonso starting this game. It's again based on form. Alonso will be going into this game confident. If anything, he'll be more confident because it's Spurs and he has a good record against them. You'll have that sort of feeling going into games. So it makes sense for Marcos Alonso to play. I can't lie. I am not sold on him. Like I'll be real about it. I've seen too many bad performances. I do think Ben Chilwell can become a better left wing back, and I do think he's a better left wing back anyway. He's just been in bad form anyway going into the Wolves match, and that's just continued. But yeah, Alonso makes sense. Like go for it. I hope he has a good game. Like please prove me wrong, but he'll play. Yeah, he'll play, and it makes sense. And I hope he has a good performance, but. I can't still say I rate him. I can't.
Okay, and I do want to react to this comment in the chat. I put it in the title. That's kind of how the YouTube game works. I wanted to have in my title how Tuchel will beat Mourinho, and then it turns out Havertz was injured, so I had to fit that in there somehow. Hence why the title says how Tuchel will beat Mourinho even without Havertz. I just had to throw it in there somehow. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, we are nearly 200 people watching, and we have a discussion of 3 people, so we won't be able to get to every single chat in the comments. If you want to make sure that I get to your message, do use the super chat function, but of course you don't have to. But yeah, I think we're all in agreement now that Alonso will and has to start. I think it's not much of a discussion. Callum Hudson-Odoi remains at right wing back, right? Even though it's not a proper right wing back role, but still he stays there. Even if Reece James came on and did well, even the fact that he took Callum Hudson-Odoi off, was a clear sign that he would start against Spurs, isn't it, Lewis?
Yeah, it makes sense as well. Like, I think a lot of the formation will stay the same. My only real question was around the middle of the park. What setting would we use for that? Would we keep the 2 in midfield? Would we keep the 2 up front? Would we go for 1 up front and 3 and the 2 left and right forwards? Wing backs, though, they all make sense. Alonso has to start against Spurs, and Callum Hudson-Odoi has to start right wing back against Spurs. I do have that feeling that the last 2 games are all leading towards this Spurs game as well, because it's similar opposition, so it makes sense to continue in the same way that we were playing in the game before. So, yeah, I see Hudson-Odoi playing that right wing back.
Yeah, exactly. Monster yourself as well?
Yes. I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans that want to see the likes of Reece James or this player or that player. You have to take into account that Tuchel's just got here. He's still feeling out the team, feeling out the squad. So players are going to miss out. And even if you compare when Reece James came on, you saw that the threat Callum Hudson-Odoi had provided at that right wing back position was completely just gone. Do you know what I mean? Reece James is not going to take that man on. He's not going to rip apart, the whatever left back you have there. That's what Callum Hudson-Odoi brings to the game. So Hudson-Odoi has to start. I don't mind Reece James not starting right now because obviously, like I said, I know Tuchel's still feeling out the squad and he's gonna go back to what he really wants to do. I just think right now he's just, trying to get some W's in and using what right now works for right now in itself. Things will change as time goes on, but don't worry about it. Your favorite players will get minutes.
Yeah, no, he will definitely get minutes eventually. And I have said this previously. I do want him to be in the side long term, without a doubt, because I think he's one of our best players. And who was that with? Was that in our last stream, Lewis, where we discussed who has that highest ceiling of the players that, coming out of our youngsters, who is the most likely to become a genuine top-class, world-class player in their position? And we did kind of agree that Reece James is probably the closest to it, to become one of the best, if not the best right back, in the league, in the world, whatever you want to call it. So hence why, not right now, I understand it for now, it works, so don't fix it if it's not broken, I guess. But long term, I do want to see a back 4, and then that includes Reece James as a right back and Callum Hudson-Odoi as one of the wingers. And, then you can play both of them. But, especially against Tottenham, where they have Reguilon missing, who has been one of their best players this season, and their left back, him being out is certainly even more of a indicator that we need to play our strongest forward player on the right-hand side. Try to exploit it as much as you possibly can, whether it's Ben Davies or whoever they end up playing there. We need to exploit it as much as we possibly can. And Callum Hudson-Odoi, in his current form and following his last 2 performances, is certainly, the best fit for that, I think. The best fit for that. But in terms of formation, personally, I would actually do the whole 3-4-1-2 that we did in the second half against Burnley. I really enjoyed it. I really liked Mason Mount in that role. I think Mason Mount can also then drop back to make it more of a midfield 3, which in the whole terms of physical battle that Lewis touched on earlier can help us against Tottenham, because he isn't the strongest guy in the world, but he will not give up any ball. He will fight for every ball. And okay, he might not win every duel, but it's still helpful if you have another extra guy in there fighting for everything, especially if we don't have Kante, but it's Kovacic and Jorginho. Just an extra body in there would help. And then I'm not 100%, the Giroud one that Monster touched on earlier is a tricky one, because I do agree that would probably not be a bad idea, especially if we end up being forced to cross the ball a lot, which we probably will be. But I also think the more we can split them, the more we can tear their defense apart, tear the players apart, pull some, stretch some, make some runs deep, others come short. I think we have a better chance of opening them up that way than just whipping in cross after cross after cross. I think Giroud is best suited to when we have to do that, but I think there is better ways to break a deep-sitting team down. And Giroud doesn't suit the coming deep, going short, or the crazy movement, plus the counter press as well. So I'm not 100% sold on whether starting Giroud is the best idea. I would love to see Pulisic as one of the 2. Then I'm just not sure who should be the other, because all 3 of the forwards haven't been good in their last performance. Giroud was diabolical, in my opinion, against Wolves. Tammy was diabolical in that first half against Burnley. And the less said about Timo Werner, the better, honestly. I mean, people are starting to find excuses for him for easy chances now. I mean,
Yeah.
Like people say, "Oh, that was such a tough cross by Hudson." I'm like, bro, we paid 50 million for the guy. He should be able to hit a ball when it's half a yard off the ground. It
No,
wasn't like
that was
a
a
yard
lovely
above.
that was a lovely cross from what's his name, Callum Hudson-Odoi. Anyone that says otherwise is completely lying. Timo Werner scuffed it, should have scored there, had no excuse not to. I won't even give him an excuse. I don't care what anyone says. There's no excuse for you missing those chances. But one thing I did notice with Timo Werner was his movement alone was creating a lot of space for other players.
True.
And that's one thing he brings to the table if he's not scoring as well. The reason why I say start Giroud, but I feel like Giroud might be a little better because he can handle that physicality when it comes to these Tottenham players. Whereas as we've seen with Tammy in a previous Tottenham game, he easily getting brushed off the ball. Even when they got lovely crosses into him, the guy, as tall as he is, he can't head anything. That's just, I don't know what is up with Tammy. I don't know why he's built so tall. If he can't head anything, it just doesn't make sense. But there is a shout for Christian Pulisic to play up there with Timo Werner. Only because they're running in behind does create a lot of space. Christian Pulisic looked very good against Burnley when he came on as well. Obviously, he missed that chance. I feel like he should have scored. I feel like maybe we should either go with Pulisic and Werner, or Werner and Giroud up front. I just don't think this is the game for Tammy Abraham, just because of the physicality part of it. I don't think this is the game for him. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. I don't think it's quite the game that Tammy should probably be playing in. And yeah, I would probably go with the Werner Pulisic to start with. And then if that doesn't really work and we end up having to cross the ball lots, bring Giroud on, either whether it's at halftime or whether it's, after an hour or 55 minutes already. Don't wait until the 80th, 85th, 75th. Bring it on with a little bit of time. But I think to start with, a Pulisic-Werner combination could be quite good. What do you think, Lewis?
Yeah, the more we describe this, it's really hard to figure out which one's the best option, because you want Werner, but he's just so really out of form right now. You just can't come up with any reasons to justify it. Although you're just hoping that you might see a glimpse of the old Timo Werner coming back. Tammy Abraham, I'd like to see him, and I have this feeling like he would do really well in this game, but I just know he will struggle. Exactly like Monster said, he's going to struggle with the physicality of the Spurs defense. And we'll see the exact same thing. But that also doesn't mean he won't start. And I think the biggest issue that we've had with Olivier Giroud hasn't been that he hasn't started. It's just that we haven't brought him on early enough. And that might be what the thing is. Maybe Tammy starts, and if we're playing a system that constantly puts crosses into the box, then we bring on Olivier Giroud, and then it's something different that the Spurs team have to deal with at that point. But I do think Tammy will start, because Olivier Giroud won't play the full 90, and I wouldn't want Tammy Abraham to come on in the second half, because I feel like he'd still struggle in the air against them. Or, to be honest, maybe a fresh Tammy Abraham against a Spurs defense that played for 60 minutes might have a different result. I don't know. But like we said, no one in the front three is doing anything to really justify why they should be starting right now. So it's a bit of a sticky one. Yeah. I would just... Okay, if I'm thinking what the manager's going to go for.
But to clarify, would you go with the 3-4-1-2 with Mount as kind of a 10? Or would you go with the two wide forwards behind a proper striker? Because I think that makes a difference, who you pick, whether it's Tammy or Werner, if you decide between those two.
I'm not sure, because they're both offer different things. With Tammy and Timo, you get a bit more of a link-up. I feel like if it's Timo Werner as the lone striker, he's going to end up being forced to drop deeper. Yeah. And then just get involved with the earlier build-up play a bit more, which he's not bad at, but it also just leaves us without a focal point. I'm not sure. Everything just says, Tammy starts. But then I just think about it, and I'm like, that's not really going to be the answer we wanted, but cool. That's the thing. It's the form that both players are in. But I think we'll go for one up front and two forwards.
Okay, fair. I just think the fact that Tuchel took Tammy off at halftime didn't really suggest to me that he was particularly happy with him. And unless Tammy did a madness in the last few days in training, I don't really see him starting. Just for that reason. And I think that he liked how the second half went against Burnley, because our first half wasn't bad, but we had loads of chances in the second half and should have put them away 3-4, 5-0, frankly. And loads of different players had good chances. Obviously, Monster picked out the one that Pulisic had. So, that is, I would tend to agree. And by the way, we have another message in the chat here, not a super chat, but by Mr. James 1968, another member of the channel, which big up yourself, bro. Big up yourself. And like I said, everyone that wants to join the channel, there is a join button beneath the video. Join that. All the info is there. If you fancy it, of course, not forcing anyone to. And we also have 341 people watching, 354 now. Big up yourselves, guys. But make sure you smash the like button if you haven't already. We need to hit at least 100, but ideally 150. And also subscribe if you haven't already. But I guess we talk through formation now. We have, myself and Monster would go with the 3-4-1-2. Would you agree to play Mount in that role?
Yeah, because there's talks of Havertz not being fit, so definitely Mason Mount, yeah.
Because that means, Lewis actually not 100% necessarily, but at least you and myself are leaving out Hakim Ziyech, who of course was left out of the last squad, but more with the thought to purposely, kind of be sure he's 100% fit and able to start for this game. At least that's how Tuchel explained it, right? Whether it's true or not, who knows? Sometimes. Exactly. So what do we do with him? Because I think, as much as I do think he's actually good as a 10, I'm not sure he's good as a 10 if the two guys in front of him are Werner and Pulisic. I'm not sure if that's his role. I think against Spurs, we just need a Mount in the team. That's all I'm thinking.
Do you know what it is? The thing is with Hakim Ziyech is that Hakim Ziyech brings something that at the moment Mount and Havertz don't bring. And that's that line-breaking passes, that adventure that necessarily we don't get enough of. Just that quality to pass through Tottenham or any team in general that we don't necessarily see from anyone else. Ziyech at 10 in a free role is a big shout, if you ask me. But also the work rate Mount brings as well. Mount does his thing as well, if I'm being honest, isn't it? So it's a bit of a good headache to have, but it's a shout. Yeah. It's a shout. I don't know. I would go with either or. Like any of them, if you choose any of them, listen, I'll be happy with any of them, innit? Do you know what I mean? So that's how I feel about it.
I back it. I back it. It's just, to me, first of all, like I said already, I think against the Tottenham, when we need, especially, they will be trying to get out of their kind of poor form situation, which we thankfully have now already with the last two performances, particularly obviously beating Burnley. But I think in the derby, you need the guys that are properly up for it. And I'm not saying that Ziyech wouldn't be, and I'm not saying that Kai wouldn't be, but none of them will be as much as Mason Mount. And also, let's not forget, Mason Mount, in my opinion, was, if not joint, just below Callum Hudson-Odoi in performance against Burnley. It was absolutely brilliant, in particular in the second half when he played that free role.
I feel like everyone kind of don't give Thiago Silva the respect.
But we didn't really have much to do defensively, hence why I think that's the case.
Fair enough, but I don't know. There were certain times where he looked like he could be in trouble, but his quality got him out of that trouble that another centre-back would scuff. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just something.
His passing is just beautiful.
Yeah, it wasn't just his passing. There was a time where the Burnley player just missed it, and the way he chested it down under the pressure was crazy. Another point where there was like 3 or 4 Burnley players around him, and he got the ball away. I think it was to Marcus Alonso. It's just like, Jesus, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a calming figure you need around the defense as well. And you see the effect of it on Rudiger and Kurt Zouma as well. There's a lot less mistakes in them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't disagree.
Was so much that I don't know. People don't see it because unless normally you would, if it was another, and this is coming from someone that played a game. If it was another player, they would have been in trouble, and that could have led to a goal. But he gets us out of it. But it's because you don't see the goal, you don't really realize what he's done. But yeah. Go on, Laurenz, though.
No, I agree though. Like Thiago Silva, the one that impresses me the most, first of all, he's really good with his like aggressive tackles. He so rarely commits a foul there, which is beautiful to see because we've seen so many players consistently give free kicks away there in annoying positions. But what impresses me so much about him, we know he's not the fastest. And when he is in a sprint like duel against someone, you see that he's not the fastest. But when it's about covering space and covering for the right centre back that's pushed up or the left centre back that's pushed up or whatever, the man manages to make ground in such a smooth and silky way and always be in the right spot other than against Man City. It's honestly incredible to see how he does that at 36 years of age, and people strongly underestimate him, in my opinion. Fair play. Maybe I should have mentioned him too. But let's say that of the forward players, I think Mount was a close second behind Hotspur performance. And I think if you play like that in the last game, they're boring starting. Even if we think Ziyech has certain qualities, I think Mount has played well enough to start. It's like not starting, maybe not quite, but close to not starting Giroud after he scored the 4 goals against Sevilla. We wouldn't have done that. We didn't do that either. And I think it's a little bit similar with that with Mount. He played well enough in exactly that role, so why wouldn't you play him there again?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, what about yourself, Lewis? Because obviously you said you would have the 2 forwards behind a striker. Who would those 2 forwards be? Would Werner be one of them? And if so, who would the other one be? More Mount, more Pulisic, more, or of course Hakim Ziyech?
I mean, I always had the issue with Werner as a left wing, but that's because of how far we pushed him out onto the flanks.
Yeah.
Werner at left forward, I can back, to be honest, because you keep him centrally. So I wouldn't necessarily mind that too much. If we're having Hotspur as a right wing back as well, you could have Hakim Ziyech as a right forward.
Yeah.
Or, I wouldn't really put Christian Pulisic onto his weaker side. Even though they could interchange a lot if they wanted to, and that would probably work really decently as well. But I feel like, you'd go more for Ziyech and Werner because then you can get the same interchange too. So if I'm going for the one up front and 2 forwards, I'll go for Tammy, Timo, and Ziyech.
Yeah. I do have to shout out this super chat. I'm not falling for it.
It's a troll.
Yeah, I'm not falling for it, but I do appreciate the donation. I do appreciate the donation.
He's decent still.
Yeah, exactly. But also, did you actually meant to spell Ajax, or am I not clocking the second troll? Because I'm not really clocking the Ajax one, but either way, appreciate the donation, bro. He's great value now, is he? Big up yourself. But I think it's a difficult debate, and that's the situation we love to be in. Obviously, we had a situation in autumn where we had so many players injured. Ziyech was out, Pulisic was out, and then we had this whole nightmare of Frank playing Mason Mount on the wing, which bloody hell. I mean, it's different playing as a proper wing as a forward behind a striker in a 3 at the back system with wing backs, right? But now when we have a full squad, we have so many options, it's genuinely crazy. And I say full squad, Havertz is probably out. And we're still having this selection issue. It's honestly crazy, which is part of the reason why I would long-term prefer to see a midfield 3, because we have too many good midfielders to only play a midfield 2, if that makes sense. Because then you at least take Mount of that discussion with Havertz and Ziyech, because at least Mount can play in the 3. And you can have the other 2 as a discussion further forward on the pitch, which is my personal logic. And by the way, we have nearly 400 people watching, over 400 people watching. Big up yourselves. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out these 2 guys. Of course, Monster on for the first time. His link is down in the description. In the first line, just click his app. And the same goes for Lewis, of course. Subscribe to these guys immediately. You could do that right now and have this going in the background. We'll keep talking. Don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. And yes, Eden Hazard is injured again. I will touch on that as basically the last question I will get to, because why not? A little bit of talking about something different. I guess the next question that we should probably answer is Thomas Tuchel against Jose Mourinho. Of course, it's probably as different as you can get in terms of manager, maybe other than Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho. It doesn't get much more different than Tuchel and Jose. Like I touched on in the intro already, Jose is factually our most successful manager ever. Some people have lost a lot of heart for him, a lot of love for him with his move to Tottenham. I was one of them. I thought I did a brilliantly funny social media post when I had a mask of his, back from his second spell. And, I recorded myself throwing that mask in the bin and shutting the bin like very aggressively. I thought it was great, man. But it was a little bit like that. And I thought, I'm going to hate him now. But I can't. I don't know. People will hate me for not hating Jose because he's at Spurs. But I can't get myself to do it. Especially when I saw the Spurs stock and he just goes up to that TV and tells it to F off after, obviously the pundits slated him. It's just too good. The guy, honestly, I hope...
in it.
Exactly. I hope once he retires, he should just do stand-up comedy. Like, he's hilarious. Or just tell little anecdotes on stage, like do a, I don't know, what's his face, Russell Brand or whatever the guy's name is. Like, just go on stage, tell a few stories, tell a few jokes. He will make at least as much money as he does as a manager. At least that's Spurs, because they can't afford much. So, honestly, like, but it is always interesting to play against Jose, isn't it? Let me go with Lewis first.
Yes and no. Like, I say yes because it's always interesting going back to face Jose, but same way it loses that feel after a while. And Jose said the same thing as well in press conferences because he's trying to play it down too. After a while, it's not, I'm facing my old club, it's I'm facing Chelsea, because you're going to face them so many times. It's just Chelsea. And it is what it is. So I just shrugged my shoulders to it. No hate to Jose Mourinho. He's the best manager that's ever walked into Chelsea Football Club. We all know him for what he is. He's a legend. He's also Spurs. So for 90 minutes, we put that aside. Other than that, it's all love. He's never said anything against the Chelsea fans, so it's all love and respect. So, but as a manager and tactics, you know what we're walking into. You know exactly what we're walking into. It's going to be snooze ball. And that's because Jose hasn't got the full confidence in his squad. He's not only capable of playing that sort of brand of football, but he only plays that brand of football when he doesn't have that full belief in the squad. And he hasn't got nearly that level of belief in the Spurs squad as he's did in the Chelsea 04-05 team, the Chelsea 14-15 side, the 05-06 side. He's got nowhere near that sort of confidence. That's why he's playing the football he's playing. So you just got to bear it if you're a Spurs fan. But also, if you're a top six side facing Spurs, because they're just going to be ridiculously hard to break down. So, yeah, it's always nice facing Jose, but same way, it gets boring after a while because you know what you're in for.
Exactly. And to carry on from that, basically, and before putting it to you, Monster, obviously Thomas Tuchel has now been in charge for, 9 or 10 days, something like that. 9 days, I'm pretty sure it is by the time we come to tomorrow. Of course, he took over last Tuesday and had that one training session. Do you expect to see more of what he likes, or do you think it will be of a similar level as it has been against Wolves and Burnley?
I think it will improve. More and more as time goes on, we're going to continue to see what Thomas Tuchel's trying to do at Chelsea. As for Jose, listen, I had never said anything negative about Jose. Jose is my favorite manager of all time because of him bringing success to this club. I mean, I've been supporting Chelsea since about 97, 98. Since I was practically a kid, a baby, and during those times, I never knew what it was like to be a successful Chelsea fan. I remember going to the 2002 FA Cup final in the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, us getting our asses whooped by Arsenal 2-0. Lundberg and I think it was Ray Parlour scored a banger, going home heartbroken, and then.
Especially all the way from bloody Wales. It's not even just like North London going home.
Yeah. That was my first game. Going to Monaco, getting whooped 3-1, and then coming to Chelsea and beating us. We drew 2-2, and that was the first day I ever cried because it was a Champions League semi-final, our first ever. And then Jose came in as this confident young manager with charisma, with confidence. Even when he came in, never did I think I was ever going to see the day Chelsea will win a Premier League title. And he came in and brought 2 of them in 2 seasons. How can I hate that person? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. How? I don't care where he manages. He can manage Arsenal for all I care. I will still love him more than anyone. It's that bad, isn't it? Yeah. But like Lewis said, we know what he's going to do. He's going to stink up the joint. Do you know what I mean? He is going to play the most offensive football ever. Yeah. And if they can somewhat get a win, they'll take a 1-0 and run away with that, innit? The only thing is, I think Chelsea needs to pile misery on, because right now in that Tottenham camp, there's a lot of issues. Forget about the injuries and all that stuff. There's infighting within the team. Players and the manager, different players, it's all divided. Chelsea need to take advantage of that. Go there, take the win. Tuchel needs to set up right, not be too naive and overcommit. Just set up just about right. We need to be a little more clinical because we will get chances, but we've got to take them. We might not get as many, but we'll get some chances. We need to take them. And if we can take them, good, we'll get the win. That's it.
That's just it. But we need to be clinical. And that's just the one thing that we're not clinical.
Yeah, and I really hope that that's one of the things that Thomas Tuchel can work on. You know, where it is things as in training, cutting the pitch short to like force diagonal runs, which will create more chances in the first place, but not just create more chances, will create more big chances, because diagonal runs is how you find space and find a free position to finish. And then also to train with small balls, because what small balls does is improve your touch. And a lot of our forwards do need a bit of a better touch, you know.
Yes.
No digs, but you know, Timo Werner.
That's not even an indirect. That's at everybody.
I worked with something like that when I was in the academy. Small balls, really tiny balls. I think it was in 2009. And doing that, it really does improve your ball control. It improves your passing as well and things like that. Those balls are not easy to play with. I think they use that a lot in Spain, from what I understand. I think in Holland as well. So seeing Tuchel doing that, I knew exactly what he was doing in terms of the training methods. It really does help. Hopefully, you know, the likes of Tammy Abraham, the likes of Timo Werner can benefit off that, because mainly those two, their touches don't look the best. Do you know what I mean? Their first touch. And it's really imperative in football at this level, your touch has to be on point. So hopefully they work on that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. By the way, we have over 400 people watching still. Big up all of you guys, but we haven't even hit 150 likes. Go down below, smash the like button. I want 200 likes like right now. And if you're watching this, you can just go down below and I throw out the classic statement. It doesn't cost you any money and it barely costs you any time. And you just hear us talking anyways. So just go down below, click that little button. And if you don't have a Google account yet and you're using that as an excuse, it ain't an excuse. It takes about a minute to create a Google account, and then you can smash the like button and subscribe. Everyone needs to have a Google account anyway. You know, you need to. It's 2021. Who doesn't have a Google account? And that's weird. Anyway, enough of that. I think the last few things that we should probably discuss is, do you guys think we absolutely have to get a win tomorrow to make top 4 a realistic chance? Or do we also have to say, well, even after that, we still have 16 games to go. So whether we win or lose tomorrow isn't really that decisive in terms of a top 4 finish or not. Let me go with Lewis first.
I think whether we win or lose, there'll still be more chances to make top 4, because teams will drop points. But it's also a case of how many times are teams going to drop points and we aren't going to capitalize on it. Like the last time, like this last match day is probably the first time we've actually properly capitalized on a group of teams dropping points in ages. So I think now we need to keep building on that. It doesn't make us dropping more points doesn't help us. So I think if we take a loss from this game, it will still hurt us. And even like I said earlier, with the thing hanging over our head that we haven't beaten any top 6 side or any teams above us in the league right now, if the more we let that keep going, the more that's going to hang over our heads, and the more that's going to become a bigger confidence issue for the players. So yeah, just get the W now and get over and done with. Also, Spurs have the game in hand against us, so make up the ground while you can.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't agree more. That's the important thing. It's not necessarily about these 3 points, which are that deciding, but it's the fact that we put confidence in these players, that we keep on building this momentum that we have started with, at least playing some better football against Wolves, even though we didn't quite manage to break them down, improving another step against Burnley, playing similarly, but breaking them down, getting those 3 points, a comfortable 3 points realistically, considering they didn't have a single shot on target. And now we just have to keep going with that. Beat Tottenham tomorrow, beat Sheffield United, obviously get through the next round, the FA Cup against Barnsley, then have to beat Newcastle, who, as much as, Newcastle fans are hating on Steve Bruce, are not easy to beat either. And then we go into that really, really tough run of games after that. But we have to build some momentum. We can't go into there having picked up a couple wins and a couple draws and won or lost or whatever. We need to get into there proper on top form and everything else. And then everything's possible. Then we can beat Atletico Madrid. Yes, Atletico Madrid are 10 points clear at the top of La Liga. But they also lost to a 3rd division team in the Spanish Cup with a lot of their best players playing. So just because they're good doesn't mean they're impossible to beat, right? Let's not kid ourselves. But what Ronald has said here, I'm sorry about my name. I can't help it. I know I could have gone with the channel name, just Laos1507, like I am on the social medias. Of course, check that out, by the way. Links are down in the description. But, we have to do what we have to do. But everyone, thankfully, YouTube has, introduced this method of just putting an at in the title or in the description to find someone's channel. Much easier for everybody. And someone has thrown in a question in here, which I will touch on, but also get your guys' thoughts on. Before, obviously, Monster, of course, gives his thoughts on what we just discussed now as well. What do I think about the 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2 or 4-2-4? All the same thing, really. It's just a matter of, are you in possession? Are you out of possession? Personally, I'm a fan. Personally, I'm a fan with the players we have, because I think that's the best way of using all of Reece James, Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, Havertz, and Werner, and maybe even Ziyech whenever we need a little bit of rotation. I think that's the formation that we can do all of that in. And once we get good on a Thomas Tuchel, once we get comfortable on a Thomas Tuchel, and maybe not against every game. I'm not saying do that against Liverpool and against Man City, right? But the average game for us isn't like a Liverpool or Man City game. And I think for an average game, whether it's next season or towards the end of this season, I think there would be a good formation. Monster, what do you think? And of course, touch on what we said with the beating Tottenham and whatever as well.
With the top four thing, I think, like Lewis said, it's not the end of the day if we, it's not the end if we don't, win this game. But I would say we need to take every chance to get closer to the top four. So to me, we have to win this game. It gives us a chance to keep going and pushing for that top four position. We can't lose any ground at this moment. We have to keep pushing for it, innit? So it's imperative to me that we win this game. As for the 4-2-2-2, I think we need to. That should be our formation going forward, whereby it's 4 at the back, 2 in the middle, 2 DMs in the middle, and you've got 2 wingers there, and then you've got what do you call it? Maybe a striker and a 10, or a striker and a shadow striker, being Werner and Kai Havertz. I think that's a similar formation to what Bayern Munich play, if I'm not wrong, with the 2 up front being Lewandowski and Thomas Müller. I think Chelsea should somehow replicate that formation a little, and it could work. It's something that we don't see in the Premier League anymore. And it's something that I think Chelsea can carry going forward, and it could be a big problem for other teams.
Lewis, what about yourself? Do you agree with that? Would you like to see a 4-2-2-2 in the future?
In the future, yes. I was
not talking about tomorrow, just in general.
Yeah, that's what I thought the question was directing at. No, I don't see it happening now, but in the future, yes. Like you said, it gets the best out of the best players in our system, and that's the one thing that we want to try and do. We want to try and find a way to fit all the best players that we can into our squad. So I'd be all for that. Just don't see it happening right now. But yeah, I'd just be echoing what Monster said. I agree with it. Well, I agree with most of his points.
Exactly. And before rounding this off, I'll touch on a couple of small things, including the fact that Eden Hazard has picked up another muscle injury. Sorry?
No, sorry. Continue.
The fact that Eden Hazard has picked up another muscle injury. We'll get to score predictions and everything, at the very end. Just a few other things, we're streaming for an hour. We can talk about a couple of things. Eden Hazard's picked up another injury. We'll be out for another month. Would you want Eden Hazard back? Because I said this on Twitter earlier, and I got some stick. I said, I don't need another Gareth Bale like they have at Tottenham right now. I don't need him to come back on 200k plus a week to sit there on the bench and be injured half the bloody time. No one needs that. We'll just get annoyed. We'll just get frustrated. People will start hating on him and this and that and say you're overweight, you're this, you don't work hard enough. I don't want that. What do you guys think? Monster, go first.
Listen, number one thing, I consider Eden Hazard a legend at Chelsea. And one thing I would say is that people have heard me say this plenty of times before. I'm not a fan of legends coming back to the club. Or do you know what I mean? I didn't want when Didier Drogba came back, although it was successful. I thought to myself, why is someone that had left the club on the highest of the highest note, winning the champ, scoring a winning penalty, winning the Champions League? Why is he coming back to the club to play again? Although it did work out, he won the Carabao Cup and the league as well. So it did work out in that instance. But I said, no, don't come back. Same thing with Frank Lampard when he came back as manager. I just thought this might not be the best idea. People, if it doesn't work out, people are going to be saying this and saying that and blah, blah. It might not look good on him. And with Eden Hazard, one thing about Eden Hazard is he's the reason why a lot of people, say us Real Madrid and blah blah. That's why he's always injured. No, it's not. It's Eden Hazard. His lifestyle choices have caught up with him. When you are not training hard enough, you're not working on your body properly, doing things like that. When you hit 29, 30, your body starts to change. It starts to catch up with you. We saw the same thing with Wayne Rooney. Do you get what I mean? The lifestyle catches up with you. And that's what's happening with Eden Hazard. The reason why he's always getting injured is because he's not taking care of his body properly. He's coming back from pre-season, he's coming back overweight and things like that. Those things catch up to you, innit? I don't think Chelsea should get him back because he's going to be injured out. He's going to be injured a lot as well. I think, he is where he is. He's done well for Chelsea. He's a legend, blah, blah. Let's leave it at that. We don't need him back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I will say there is, of course, other examples where injuries aren't down to that. Say someone like Gareth Bale, say someone like Ian Robin, who is someone I will have a quick fire question on in just a second for you. But those people didn't look like the issue, or don't in case of Gareth Bale, of course, still active. Actually, so is Ian Robin. Still always injured, by the way. It didn't look like for them it's a case of them not looking after themselves all that well. So I don't 100% know whether it could certainly be what you said. It could certainly be a case of Real Madrid do tend to have a lot of injuries, no matter who they have. The same with Bayern Munich. They just love a good injury. Same with Arsenal. Them three clubs are probably the most injury-prone clubs in the world, I reckon. But could it also be that the fact he's just been playing every game since he was, 17 at Lille, then at Chelsea, again, a bit like the Wayne Rooney situation, when you start playing too early and overplayed in every game, every single game, because you're so important, and then there is only a few exceptions, like a Messi, like a Ronaldo, who can sustain that for decades. And, people shouldn't compare to Messi and
Ronaldo. One thing people don't take into consideration with Ronaldo, the reason why he's able to do that is because Ronaldo takes care of his body. He spends a lot of money making sure his body's in shape, he's fit, always in the gym. Remember, you've heard players say this a lot. Ronaldo's the first one in and the last one out, taking care of his body. When you look at him, he's in impeccable shape. Whereas when you look at Hazard in pre-season, you see the belly, you see he's overweight and things like that. Those things do catch up to you. They catch up to you, and as you get older, they start to they hamper your body, and they increase your chances of getting injured. Do you get what I mean? I don't know. I feel like that's what it is because I do know a bit about fitness and these things, and when it comes to taking care of your body, innit? But it's down to I don't know, man. I do feel sorry for him, innit? I feel really sorry for him.
Yeah, so do I. But Lewis, just quickly, would you take him back? Yes or no?
I can't lie. If you are looking for that fourth winger option and you could take a lot of the pressure off him and let him maybe come back to even being 70% of his normal ability, obviously you'd have to give him time and everything. But if you didn't bring him back the responsibility of being one of our main wingers and you could get him back on the cheap, I'm not going to say no, innit? Like, I do think if you don't rush him back, and plus, it's a bit of nostalgia in me. I do really want to see him come back, and that might also be like the fool in me talking. But I don't think he's completely washed just yet. I think the same thing with Real Madrid is they need him to work, so they're going to try and push him back at any available opportunity. In the same way, Monster is correct. The fact that he hasn't looked after his body for years is coming back to haunt him. But also, same way, the amount of fouls that he's received in the Premier League, like Mourinho spoke about in 2015. Eden Hazard's spoken about numerous times where he said he doesn't even see himself playing past the age of 33 on account of all the injuries that he's taken and all the fouls he's had. He's been the most foul player in the Premier League for about 7 years straight. It was going to be one injury that pushed him over the edge, and it was that Meunier challenge in the PSG Real Madrid match, and he ain't been the same since. Yeah. So I understand it. I don't think he's gone yet. It's just he keeps coming back in and back out, back in and back out. I don't look good right now, but I don't think he's done yet. But I wouldn't get him back unless it was a cheap price. Like if we could get on at half the price, maybe less, then maybe go for it. But I'm not saying break the bank to get Eden Hazard back at the club because that's just stupidness.
Especially the wages as well.
Remember that fairy tales don't always work in football. I do feel like a lot of us are stuck on fairy tales.
No,
Yeah.
but I just don't. I don't say bring Eden Hazard back to rely on him, like nowhere near the same way we did before. But as a fourth option, it's not a
But
bad
his
option.
wages would just be too high to be a fourth option. Like he won't
Wait.
come back and take.
If he takes a pay cut, but then we might just be asking for a bit too much.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Exactly.
then it just is what it is.
Exactly. I will bring up this comment by Yusuf because I've seen it on Lewis's stream before and I've seen it on my stream before, and we never got round to it. He loves a good quick fire question, so let me just do that. I will just go, well, I would love a beard, so clearly a beard, even though my girlfriend will be fuming at me. But, you know, clearly prefer a beard to shaving all my hair off. But I'll put it to you, Monster. Robin or Ribéry? Robin at Bayern or Ribéry? Who would you pick?
Do you know what it is? Normally, I would probably listen. I'm gonna go with Robin because of I know what he did when he came to Chelsea. Oh my God! First time we've seeing that left-footed beauty. Do you know what I mean? Cutting inside, hitting them bangers. Oh, what a beautiful player he was when he was at Chelsea, man! I was so in love with with Arjen Robin at Chelsea. So it's got to be Robin.
Fair. For me, it's just because back here in Austria, we never really got to watch Premier League football back then. So I never actually, and I can't remember if because my first ever game I saw was that Liverpool-Chelsea game with the ghost goal. I don't remember if he played in that. I was young, do you know what I mean? But I never really saw him. And the only memories I have of him are annoying me at Bayern, especially with the diving or even at the World Cup. That dive against Mexico was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So that's why I pick Ribéry over him. But no, I do respect him. And then Lewis, one for you, double your height or double your weight?
Double my height. And I ain't even that phased about my height. I'm 5'9", 5'10". That ain't small. I don't give a shit. But double my weight? Nah. I'll double my height any day. I'm cool with that.
Just
if I double my weight, I'll
you're
be that fast.
You're like 11 foot or 12.
You know how you can monetize that shit? Exactly. No, but just restrictive view will be a bit of an issue if you're that tall. Even sitting down at the bridge. I'm 5'11", right? You know, hitting on the 6 foot, and even I barely fit in the bloody seats with my knees. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I don't know how big people do it. Honestly, no.
Play me up front though. That'll work.
Or that.
I'll get restrained 35 assists in a season. Watch.
But to finish things off, that was way louder than I wanted. I do apologize. To finish things off, first of all, a quick score prediction from everybody ahead of tomorrow's game, and then just a little bit of final thoughts. Ideally, if you have any, some positivity, because why not share some positivity, guys? And let me go with you, Monster, first. What is your score prediction, and maybe a little bit of a sentence or two of what you expect from the game, other than Jose sitting back?
I think it's going to be a 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1. That's what I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be quite tight. Do you think we're going to have majority of the ball? We might have more chances. We just have to be careful of them trying to hit us on a counter attack. We have to somewhat keep them in their half. Like we said, we know what Jose is going to do. And we need one thing as well is we need this win. We get this win, we catapult ourselves back up, and we get closer to that top 4 position. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Chelsea. Big
up yourself. That's a good chat, As long as it's a win, I'm happy. Lewis, what about yourself? And I know you're coming with a 0-0. You said it on your channel, but maybe you've changed your mind since then. Who knows? So what's yours?
My heart says 1-0 Chelsea. My head says 0-0 because it's Jose. But I'll go 1-0 Chelsea because I'm the optimist and I'm Chelsea, innit?
Exactly. And hey, I'm even going to take it one step further, and I'm going to say 2-0. I'm going to say we'll get not an early goal. We'll get a goal. And then at some point in the 75th, 80th minute, Spurs will open up because they don't want to lose. And then we'll get a second, and then we'll go home all happy. That's what I hope for. But I'm going to leave it here. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, please check out these two guys, Carefree Lewis G and, of course, Monster CFC. Both of their ads are in the first line of the description. Subscribe to them. Check out their content. It's honestly lovely. I'm sure you'll see me on Monster's channel in the near future as well. Of course, I'm on Lewis's I'm on Lewis's channel regularly anyways. And if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. We just hit 200 likes literally this second. You're not allowed to unlike. That's outrageous. So just add another few likes if any one of you hasn't dropped the like button yet. And like I touched on a few times, I need to just push it. You know what I mean? You don't have to, but if you fancy becoming a member of this channel, go down below, click the join button. All of the information is there. It is definitely a few good perks for you guys. And hey, I've touched on this before, the Eunice thing. Hey, don't be at me about that one. Don't be at me about that one. Cheers to you, Strip Bear, by the way. I've now managed to make you a more, so big up yourself. Hopefully see you soon and, in the near future as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chels. Like I said, check these two guys out. Link is in the description. Subscribe to myself. Smash the like button. But other than that, up the Chels. Let's get that win tomorrow. That's really what we need. I will actually be here for a watch-along tomorrow with Euro Expert, if you know him. This little, guy, ginger-haired guy that knows his stuff about tactics and about football. He will be joining me because all the other people do their own watch-along, so I can't exactly get them on. That's my issue.
Oh, Euro Expert.
Yeah, exactly. Getting him on.
Nice.
Exactly. So tune in for that tomorrow. We'll be doing the watch along before helping over for my live review on Blues Fans TV, and of course check out Lewis's live review on his channel as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chels. Thank you to you, the two boys, for coming on, and we'll see you next time.